Hey, good morning, Choice Residential. Hope your day's off to a great start. So today I'm letting you know about two changes, two new requirements that we're going to have for our transaction files, our compliance requirements in DotLoop starting on Monday, March 3rd. The first is something that's been in our buyer loops for several years now as an optional item that existed up here in the miscellaneous documents folder. It is now going to become a required document, and that is the inspections and services disclosure. This is different and separate from the professional services disclosure. I understand that that's a little bit confusing. The names are very similar. But this inspections and services disclosure is going to, when you create a new loop beginning on March 3rd, you're going to see that it's going to be here in the agency document section along with these other items. Our recommendation is that you have this signed at the same time that you're having the buyer agency agreement and the affiliated business arrangement disclosure. You'll just make this one of the items that you're having your client sign at that time. And we encourage you to go over this document with your buyers when you're meeting them for the first time at a buyer consultation or when you begin working with them. This is a document that we created in-house in order to provide buyers with a list of information that they may want to consider when they're purchasing a home. It contains a lot of valuable information and is going to be very relevant in terms of liability protection for you and for the firm, so that we know that our buyers are being informed and educated prior to making an offer on a home. So that is an important distinction. This document is meant to be signed, again, at the same time, roughly, that you're signing agency, but definitely before a client makes an offer on a home, because this is a list of items that gives them insight into the types of things they should be considering when they're deciding whether or not to make an offer on a home. The professional services disclosure, which is the document Form 760, that is a North Carolina issued form. Oftentimes, that's kind of a living, breathing document that you are going over and having the buyer sign either during the course of the transaction or, for a lot of you, at the end of the transaction, to act as kind of a summary of here are the things that you did want, here are the inspections you did want, here are the inspections and services you did not want. That professional services disclosure Form 760 is kind of that summary, that receipt, that final accounting of here are the things you wanted, here are the things you didn't want. Whereas this is just simply a disclosure up here. This is just simply saying here are the things that you might want to look at. So let me jump into the document with you here, just so that you can see what it is. Basically, it's going over, and I'm not going to read this all to you. You can go through if you haven't used this form before. I'll let you read through it. But it just goes over a number of items. There's about 3 full pages here of things that clients may want to consider. You can see here polybutylene, asbestos, mold, synthetic stucco, masonite siding, community water systems, wells, septic, a whole slew of items that they may want to consider. And then it goes into things that are outside of the home, such as road projects and aircraft noise from RDU and the sanitary landfill in Holly Springs. Goes into a number of items. And of course, it has all the legal language in here that you need in terms of saying this is not a comprehensive list necessarily, but meant to be a starting point for you as a consumer on the things that you might want to consider. Um, so just know, again, this is intended to be signed by your clients before they make an offer on a home. And just so you know, we've had this in the loop for many years now. Many agents use this already with all of their buyer clients, and it was at the suggestion of many of our agents. They said, "Hey, we don't understand why this isn't a required document. It is an awesome document. I don't know why everybody isn't using it." And so then after some consultation with legal counsel, we decided it would be a good idea to go ahead and make this a required document. Again, very easy to send out at the same time with your agency agreement. So just be aware that this is going to be a required document for any new contracts that are written on or after March 3rd. Please have them sign it before they go under contract. They need this information prior to deciding to make an offer on the property. All right. The second thing that's going to be required is for listing loops. Very simple, very straightforward. We're just going to ask that you submit your measurements of the listing with your loop. So if you are old school and you use graph paper and you sketch it out, great, no problem. Just scan that in and you'll add that into your listing folder, your listing documents folder with your loop. If you hire, like most of you do, a third party, an appraiser, or some other qualified measurement person to measure the listing for you, great. Just simply add that document that they provide to you with the square footage. We've had a number of issues recently where square footage has been called into question and in some cases has been inaccurate. So we want to make sure by having this that we are protecting you, protecting the firm, because agents are required to measure listings every time they take a listing. They cannot rely on tax, excuse me, tax record square footage. They cannot rely on old appraisals or old listings. They have to measure it uniquely for that listing that they're taking. So, since you're supposed to be doing that anyway, you are required by the Real Estate Commission to have that in your transaction file. We are actually required to have it in the transaction file that we maintain for you. We just haven't been requiring that in the past. So we're just catching up to what the Real Estate Commission says we're supposed to have been doing all along. So we'll have you putting that in your loops. So all listings that go on March 3rd or after, we are asking that you have that in there. It's going to be a requirement, and it needs to be in there prior to the listing going active in the MLS. So if you have any questions about that, please reach out to me. I want to make sure you have a clear understanding of this, and we will send out additional reminders as we approach March 3rd. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Again, if you have questions, reach out. Otherwise, take care, and we'll talk to you soon.